years, right? So the budget for the Department of Education is going to be reduced by that amount, right? So when they get together, they're going to do it for the whole 9 years. In actually moving forward, that's always conditional because they can always go back and decrease it by more next year, right? But when they go through those line items for the Department of Education, they're going to be tasked with finding $330 billion in savings, which means things are going to have to be cut. So for all of the people that were MAGA screaming, they're not cutting this, they're not cutting it, you don't know what they're cutting yet because they have until March 27th to put out the line items of the exact cuts that they're going to be making. All
Right.
we can
Like,
do
for
now is
example, kids' lunches. Kids'
kids'
lunches are going to get
lunches.
cut. And
Right.
friends, we're taking this time. So all I'm asking, if you can tap the shit out of that screen and share the live, what I don't want is Ava and I doing this shit again. So if you
I'm
guys
not going to do it
can, it's
again.
important. This is very important. I mean, I know everyone loves that drama and arguing with Trump supporters. That's all fine and dandy, but what the fuck? No one understands the bill. So how are you going to argue something you don't understand?
Right. So that's going to be the task of the Committee on Education. They're going to have to find savings, which means they're going to have to cut by 330 billion. And it goes through each department. You see energy and commerce reductions, $880 billion. So they're going to have to go through that and start slashing, right? And that's a lot. $880 billion
Oh yeah,
is
that's
a
a
lot
lot.
of money.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
here's the kicker that I want everybody to understand. Go down to Ways and Means.
Okay.
And this is
I'm
the
just adding
one.
all this up myself. So
Okay.
because
Ways
when I
and
made the video, they called me out saying that I was lying. You're dumb. You don't know shit. I don't know shit.
They ain't never read no bill. Go back all the way down to Ways and
Oh,
Means.
next page. Okay, 45. Got it.
This is the motherfucker. The Ways and Means.
Am I there
Just
yet?
watch this. Okay,
Oh,
go up a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit. All right. The last one at the bottom.
No,
Committee
there it
on
is. Yep.
Ways and Means. You see that cut right there?
Right
That's
here, 21.
yes. The Committee on Ways and Means shall submit changes in laws within its jurisdiction that increase the deficit by not more than $4.5 trillion. What's a part of the Ways and Means Committee, you might ask? Social Security, unemployment insurance,
Snap
Medicare,
benefits.
Medicaid, SNAP, welfare, all of that is governed under the Ways and Means Committee. So they're going to have to reduce the budgets for all of those things by $4.5 trillion. Here's the kicker. Scroll down a little bit more.
Well, just so they
Um,
know, they're not going to put it in there, all the stuff they're cutting. That hasn't even been discussed, debated, nothing.
No, that
Oh,
has all right. You see that 4.5 trillion, guys? That's what I just told you. That's what the Ways and Means Committee, that's what's in that actual committee. That's what they're responsible for. So we're looking at 4.5 trillion in cuts to Social Security, Medicare, unemployment benefits, SNAP, welfare, food assistance. All of that falls under Ways and Means. Okay? So remember that number.
give me
They're
one
going to
second, Ava. I
reduce.
apologize. Ex Grammy, Mega Granny, do me a favor. Get the fuck out of my life. You're not welcomed here.
Okay. 4.5 trillion, right? Now scroll down. Keep that number in mind, guys. 4.5 trillion. Okay. Increase in statutory debt limit. That same Ways and Means Committee, which is also responsible for tariffs and taxes, they're going to increase the debt limit by 4 trillion. So they're going to reduce it by 4.5 trillion, and then they're going to increase it by 4 trillion. You might be asking, why in the world would they reduce it by 4.5 trillion when it covers all those programs and then raise that debt limit for Ways and Means to 4 trillion? Well, how much are they estimating the tax cuts for the wealthy are going to cost us? 4.4 trillion in change. So they're taking money out of entitlement programs in order to cover the taxes that they're going to be giving to the wealthy, which means the savings, the net savings that they're going to actually get from the decreases in entitlements while raising this debt limit is zero. So when they tell you they're going to reduce the deficit by that amount of money, they're not. They're raising the debt ceiling in order to pay for the taxes and yet still cut from all of those programs. So the savings and the reduction in the deficit is going to be zero. And that is why at the top, because we didn't go through it, that is why the estimated deficit over the next, by the end of this 9-year period, our deficit will go from 37 trillion to $55 trillion. And that's on the low end. It's going to
Low
be
end.
higher.
It's absolutely it's going to be higher. I said that the moment you said it, I knew it was going to be higher because the math isn't mathing. But we'll get into that. But I agree with you 100%.
So that's a brief overview of what they're proposing, right? And then that section for the reserve fund, Title III, can you scroll down a little bit on that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
It says here that the committee on the budget, that they might revise the allocations, right? They can revise it. They can just get together and say, wait a minute, we're not cutting enough. They can go back in and cut more, just so you know. That's the definition of a continuing resolution, which means that it's always subject to change. They can go back in and slash more,
Yeah, because in a
right?
year after they go through their savings, they're going to increase that debt ceiling one more time, maybe two more times.
Mhm. So I hope everybody is understanding exactly what this is. The line items, the specific line items of what's going to be cut from these programs will be released no later than March 27, according to this continuing resolution. All the continuing resolution does is set forth how much they're going to cut or how much they're going to add. That's it. The specifics, the line items, anyone who's told you that they know the exact line items is lying to you because they have until March 27 to do it. Now, I hope that made sense to everybody. I tried to put the cookies on the lower shelf there so everybody can kind of follow along. But don't listen to anyone in MAGA. They've never read a fucking bill, ever.
Oh, the
And
ones
they've
that
never,
said that they were going to be here, I can clearly state that they're not here. They're all shit
no,
talkers because they don't know shit. And for the person saying, well, what are we looking at? How do we know this is the bill? I'll scroll all the way up to the beginning. That's
there
what
it
the bill is
is.
called. It's 60 pages, 60
Mm-hmm.
pages. And it's supposed to cover military increase fund. It's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
cover, what was the other thing? It covered actually a few things. Let me see if I can find it here.
It's covering everything: energy, commerce,
Yeah,
military,
energy,
armed services,
taxes are cuts for the rich.
transportation. Yeah, the debt, raising the debt ceiling, cutting the entitlement programs by the same amount that they're going to be raising the debt ceiling. Yeah, which is, of course, a net savings of zero.
Yeah, this literally should be explained better, but they're not. My fear is it's going to go to the Senate. It's going to pass because they did it a special way in the House because they didn't want it to get filibustered. So they have to do it this way to, I forget what the terminology they use, but it's several ways that they can vote on the bill. They chose to do it this way because this is how
Well, the
it's going to
yeah.
guarantee them to win it, to get it
Right. Well, it's
passed.
yeah, CR is you under normal conditions, we don't have continuing resolutions. Under normal conditions, you just release the budget,
Hmm.
right? But a continuing resolution is a way, it's a budget reconciliation. It's a way to bypass a lot of the stalls that they would have, because normally this would have to go through committees and pass through the respective committees before it goes for a vote on the House floor. But they're skipping it with the CR.
Yeah,
And
and
now,
then the
but
Senate can't filibuster it neither, doing
well,
it this way.
we don't have the numbers to filibuster. A
Hmm.
filibuster would happen in the Senate anyway, and you need 60 people to
Correct.
filibuster.
But for some
Now,
reason, Mike Johnson thinks that they may actually have. I don't know. I don't know what his
no, but
philosophy
somebody
of thinking is.
they can block it now. But it's going to be very difficult. Remember when
Yeah.
Tommy Tuberville blocked the funding for abortion services for armed forces? You can block it, but the continuing resolution is kind of like a way around where you know that they would only need like 51, I think. But the bottom line is that we have until March 27th to actually find out exactly what line items are going to be slashed through or cut down to zero or cut, right? But the biggest pinch of this is there are all these cuts, right? in all of those different sections, you got slash, slash, slash. But then they're telling you that they're doing the slashing in order to make the government more efficient. But in the name of efficiency, they're raising the debt ceiling by 4 trillion and estimating at least 55 trillion for our deficit at the end of 9 years. I would love for one of MAGA to explain to me how is this efficient? Increase our deficit over the next 9 years to at least 55 trillion, raise the debt ceiling by 4 trillion, and then cut entitlements. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who this is going to benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is the simplest way I can put it. You're cutting entitlement programs, but you're raising the debt limit. For what?
It's going to make the poor poorer, the middle
Yep.
class less,
Mm-hmm.
the people who are just above middle class less.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the 1%, people who are making over $500,000 or higher, yeah, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
benefit them a little bit. But the billionaire class is going to benefit them the most.
Oh, and by the
Mark
way,
Zuckerberg, Musk, and a few others. What the fuck do they need all this funding? They can afford their own taxes.
yep. Go up to commerce.
What page?
The part I think it's on 43.
Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Okay, let's go down to Committee on Commerce. Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, farmers, you see that
Oh
230
yeah,
billion
commerce.
decrease?
Yeah, farmers are gonna get fucked.
You're going to need that money when these tariffs kick in because you're going to need subsidies to keep your farms running. They're decreasing this by 230 billion. Where do you think
Hmm.
that's coming from? Where do you think
Well,
it's coming
remember
from?
in the red states where they were getting help to pay their electric, to pay for their water, to pay for their gas in the
Yeah.
winter,
Yep.
gone. That's gonna
Yep.
leave. So get ready for an increase in your bills as well.
That would be under the Department of Energy. And let's look at
Hmm.
how much they're slashing from the Department of Energy. Go down.
And right here, Committee of Energy. Okay,
You see, that's the biggest cuts.
eight
Energy and
hundred and
commerce,
eighty billion.
billion. And that's going to be energy subsidies. And it's also going to be um things that regulate industry, right? Deregulation. They're removing a lot of the agencies, the sub agencies that regulate business, that tells them what they can and cannot do, that reins them in so it's not unchecked, right? So billionaires and millionaires can't open up businesses and do things any way they want to do them, and they don't have any oversight. So we won't be able to find out whether or not they're ripping off people, if they're scamming customers. All of that's going to be in there. Your committee on financial services, that's not a big deal. It's not really. I think the biggest thing is that's going to probably be the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're probably going to get rid of it,
Hmm.
right? Now let's look at the Committee on Homeland Security.
But remember what Musk said: the lower and middle class are going to learn to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have to know you're gonna suffer a lot.
Mm.
So Homeland Security, $90 billion.
Wait, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is, number 20. Okay,
Now, one might ask, how the fuck are you gonna do mass deportations and then decrease it by $90 billion?
good
Where's he
question.
getting this? Where's he getting this money from? You know what that decrease in 90 billion is going to be? Because they're going to be picking up people probably and dumping them into Gitmo, right? Which is going to remove all of the holding areas that they have for people that come over the border, that they house them and make sure that they have food and shelter while they're awaiting their asylum hearings. They're probably going to cut all of that because they plan on just shipping them back to their countries or taking them to Gitmo, which is a shit show, a hellhole. That's that plan right there. So I just want everybody to understand that these cuts that they're proposing